Okay. So what are your thoughts on Quebec's religious neutrality law?
I think religious neutrality is a wonderful thing. I believe in separation of church and state, and I believe that it is important for a government to be neutral towards every faith. And the focus is on the word every faith. So if they decide that they want to have neutrality laws about religious ornaments or religious symbols not being worn in public, I think it's fantastic.
What about to the Muslim women who feel as if they're the ones being targeted? Because Christianity, we don't wear any covers, but mostly it's Islam.
Well, they have got to stop feeling like that. They have this victimized mentality. Why should they feel they've been targeting? They're living in a country where they have more religious freedom than anywhere else in the Muslim world, and they're not being forced to do anything. However, if the government says that this is what the law is, there is a tradition in Islam, and as a practicing Muslim, I can share this with you, that you must follow the laws of the land where you live, unless you're forced to do anything against your faith. Now, the head covering is not even an article of faith, and that is subject to a lot of controversy. Many people, many Muslims have tried to pass it off as being a part of Islam. It is not, and don't take my word for it. This was said by Sheikh Tantawi, who was the most senior religious figure at Al-Azhar in Cairo, and he actually told his students to uncover their faces. And when we go for the Hajj, and I've been there, which is the pilgrimage to Mecca, which is one of the 5 foundational pillars of Islam, you are not allowed to cover your face because your face is your identity. So if it is not a religious requirement, then what is it? Then it becomes a tribal cultural practice. And if the country you live in says that we don't want this tribal cultural practice, I think we should abide by that.
Well, but this whole idea of multiculturalism.
Multiculturalism is an idea that you can't force cultures down people's throats. It's organic. People who live in Canada are diverse, and they learn to interact. They don't all have to like each other. The idea that everything is wonderful because multiculturalism is there is not a practical idea. Because let me remind you that all cultures are not equal. Now, we are not talking here about good or bad. I'm talking about equal. Those cultures that oppress and suppress women, those cultures that have forced young girls to get married before they're 12 years old, are not equal to the cultures in which women are respected and given equal rights. So all cultures are not equal, and we must be cognizant of that. Multiculturalism is something that is organic. Different flowers grow in a field. You don't force them. It's something that happens because we are different. Excuse me. And we learn to respect each other, and that's extremely important.
The last time we spoke, you said that you would support nationwide religious neutrality law. Why?
I would support a nationwide religious neutrality law because, as I said, I believe in religion is a private matter. I am a Muslim. My religion is a private matter to me. It's not something that I want to wear as an icon in the street. And there should be separation of church and state. To me, that is the only way we can thrive. Now, we came from societies in which there was a theocracy, in which religion was forced down our throats, to a country where we want religious freedom. And religious freedom, to me, is that separation of church and state. So religious neutrality towards everyone would be a very good thing. You do whatever you want privately with your religion. You worship anywhere you want. You can stand on your head. It doesn't bother me. But in the public, we need to be first Canadian citizens and then everything else. So in my work that I've learned, that we need to look at religions through the lens of human rights and not the other way around.
Let me just fix this. A little bit too close. Now, I spoke to a 21-year-old political student from Rice, and she says that she wears a niqab. She says that her choice to wear niqab is very important to her. That's her identity. So why strip her identity by introducing this religious neutrality law?
Well, first of all, an identity of a person is in their face. And if they want to hide their face, then I don't know how they are talking about identity. So that's extremely important. And we must be very practical about this. The idea of covering your face has got many social and practical medical issues. In England, where a large community of women cover their faces, they've found absolutely vital deficiency of vitamin D, which is called rickets. So it's a health issue. It's also a social barrier, because I want to be able to see the face of the person I'm talking to. In a way, it's like reverse racism. You know, one day I took my grandchildren to a park, and they saw women there who were wearing a niqab, and they got scared and they came and hid behind me, because you want to be able to see the face or the identity of the person. Your face is your identity. So if these women are saying that the niqab, a mask, is their identity, then there's a problem with that. I have a huge problem with that. How can a mask be an identity? And let's not forget that this burqa, the face mask, or the niqab or the burqa, has been used for deceit by people. There were two men who were caught robbing a jewelry store, and they wore burqas because it covered them. Now, let's understand that we're living in a post-9/11 world. It's a reality, whether we like it or not. When you travel at the airport, you have to show your identity. That's what security is about. Now, as I said, you may not like it, but that's what all of us have to do. So how are you going to look at the identity of the person behind the burqa or the niqab? So in order to live in a Western society, we have to adapt to these issues. Now, if they want to go back to countries like Saudi Arabia or Qatar, or where they cover their faces, that's fine. But this is Canada. It's not an Islamic Republic of Canada. This is Canada, which I hope will understand that it's a secular country, and that they will have religious neutrality.
Now, why do you see this as an oppressive tool, the niqab and the hijab?
Well, because it's mostly been promoted by the likes of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. They force women to cover their faces. I grew up in Pakistan. There were no niqabs. At the most, a woman would cover her hair, which is an entirely different thing, the hijab and the niqab. And I have no problem with the head covering. Many communities, women cover their hair because it's not a security issue. So it is an oppressive tool because it has been used by those who are oppressive and who oppress women. And so I look upon this as an oppressive tool.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Quran doesn't say anything about the hijab.
The Quran does not say anything about covering the face or covering the hair. The Quran speaks about dressing modestly for both men and women. Now, that modesty is understood or interpreted by people in different ways, and the extent that it goes to, for many people, I grew up in Pakistan, so my mother never wore her niqab. I mean, my grandmother would cover her hair out of respect when she was praying or when there were others around, but there was never this, this uniform wearing of the niqab. So the Quran does not say that you have to cover your face or your hair, for that example. And if there is a face covering, which, as I said, is a mask, it stops you from being part of mainstream society. Why would you want to do that?
So there is no Islamic test, period, that says you have to...
No,
Not at all.
not at all.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.